day 3 of Unmasked. It's Thursday, December 11th at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, for those of you tuning in afterwards. We're going to move kind of slow today, and I'll tell you why. Today I'm going to talk about why I'm doing this show, and it's going to be more of a personal one. So if I tend to get nervous or you see me pausing more, that's just because of the story we're going to go through today. This is Unmasked. I'm Jason Fortune. I'm real glad to be here with you today. For any of my 2 to 3 guests, listeners that we have, I'm glad to be here with you. And for any of you that tune in afterwards to kind of see why all this started or happen to be listening to a back show, I do feel like this one is a little bit more of an important one, and I've gotten my stride just a little bit. Like I said, I'm not a podcaster. I didn't take media training. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this for vanity. I'm doing this to hold space for you and me. You know what? Let's go ahead, even though we just started out, let's take a breath together. And I'm not going anywhere. My producers told me my voice is low. Is this better? Is this feeling better, everyone, before we get going again? We're still trying to figure out sound levels in my office, or this new studio, converted office. So, I think my voice levels are better. What I wanted to get back to was, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a breath. For any of you that are joined with me now, and any of you in the future, in this space we hold, and like I talk about, this isn't a show. This is a sacred space held for us to be together and talk about things that we don't normally talk about. And while I know that right now I don't have any people ready or lined up or any guests, and I don't want them, I'm getting the show kind of up on its feet. This is still a sacred space, and it's a space for vulnerability. It's a space for sharing. And with that comes a lot of intense emotions. My central nervous system is shaky. I feel it today. So if you don't mind, I would like to have just a little bit of a relaxing moment for just a second. Breathe out deep. Now take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe back out. One more time with me. Breathe in. Breathe out. Unmasked is not a show about politics. These are some of our guardrails here. We're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about religion. What we're going to discuss here is personal issues, things, topics, problems that really affect us, that all of us have. It doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, how old you are. Family's hard. Holidays are hard. Trying not to numb out and be here and be present, that can be hard. Sometimes it hurts real bad to be present, and you're going to get no judgment from me if it's hard for you to sit with that and you need something to help you feel better. No judgment. This is a space for truth. This is a space where we're going to learn to feel again together. Intense stuff, and I just need a moment if you don't mind. So, why did I start this over the holidays? Why am I compelled to get this up when I'm not ready? My graphics aren't ready. My voice isn't dialed in. I could give you a million reasons why I don't need to start this, and there's a major few reasons I needed to. And the holidays have been difficult for me. And I've said this, and on December 24th of 2023, I was arrested at 9 a.m. here at my house and escorted off by the police, by the sheriff's office here, and it wasn't my first time. I had been escorted out of my house on Christmas Eve when I was 18, and that's how I left my parents' house. And that morning on the 2023, I had not been sleeping. I had not been eating. My CPTSD my symptoms were at their highest, and my family felt uncomfortable enough that they felt the need to call for help. And it was the right thing. It was the right thing to do. And honestly, my life collapsed at that moment. All the bullshit I had been holding up and propping up, and the fake lives and the lies and just kind of all the bullshit I had built up, it collapsed. And I spent the night in jail. I got out the next day, and I wasn't allowed to come home. And I also had to stay in the state. It was interesting, the conundrum I was in. So I lived in my truck for 6 weeks in a garage. And it was not happy camping. There was nothing about this. And this also wasn't the first time I was homeless in my life. And yes, I did have a home here, but I was homeless at this point. And experiencing all this, and for any of you that have complex PTSD, for any of you that fight it, for any of you that have been going around and around in these cycles, you know what I'm talking about. And I was at my end, and I wanted to kill myself during that period that I was homeless. And what kept me from doing it was I had my service dog coach with me, and I didn't want to do it with him around. I'm just being honest. This is the hard stuff. And I also knew that there was a very slim chance that I had a life left, and the life that I have is good, and that I had a life that I could maybe get back to. And those very two little small rays of hope kept me when 99% of the day I felt like offing myself. So when I was able to make it home, I'd like to back it up a little bit. There is nothing worse than that black despair that comes over us when we are at the bottom, when I am at the bottom. And I know how hard it is to try to get through that. I know that it feels absolutely impossible to get out of this. And I have spent more of my life wishing that I was dead than not wishing, or wishing that I was alive. And that's sad for the people and family that have been around me, the people that have shared space with me, to have to know that that was inside me and live with that. And knowing that when I was at my lowest in that truck, living in a garage, I was black, and I don't even know the right words to call it without going into a bunch of expletives that I don't even want to go into. So it doesn't get any worse. There is worse. I'm sorry to say it that way. There is worse, but for me, it doesn't get any worse, and I made it back, and I'm going to talk about this throughout this part of this segment, but I'm telling you that I made it back, and I know you can too. The holidays are hard, and if you are hurting, if you're coming across this video and you're just kind of dialing through it at any given point, I'm here for you this holiday. If you find this, I'm going to be on every day at 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Twitch and YouTube for sure. TikTok when I can get my access back. And I'll be as many places as I can. So if you find this, you come and reach out and come on this show. There's room for you. When I was able to get back into my home, I was able to start. I had been talking about it beforehand with my therapist. I've been in therapy my whole life, so what I was going through over this holiday period when I got arrested, this isn't like I was alone. I had people around me. Just if complex PTSD is a very, very tricky disorder, and it doesn't matter the team or the time. If it's time for the blackness, it's time. We had been discussing me getting into a psychedelic healing program because I was treatment-resistant depression, treatment-resistant everything. In my 20s, they labeled me a drug addict. In my 30s, I was labeled bipolar 2. And then in my 40s, I kind of had shucked it all and just leaned into full-time alcoholic. During all these times, I was trying therapy. I was doing everything I could, but nothing worked, and I didn't feel better, ever. I never felt better. I woke up in a rage. I existed all day in a rage. I had very little tolerance for anything, for not friends, not my child. If you were around me, I was a wrecking ball. So anyway, we're going to fast forward back up to now in 23 when I'm getting into the psychedelic healing program that I got into. And I'll tell you, for those of you that don't really understand it or know about it, it's not what you think, and it's not what any of you that have nervousness or fear, I'm not telling you need to do it. I'm not saying it's for everyone. I'm just saying, as usual in our society, how things are looked at is not how they are. So I entered the program, And I started this. And in these programs, you learn to confront yourself. You learn to be vulnerable. You learn to start living again. And it is not easy. It is not easy to unlearn what our parents taught us, what our schools have taught us, what our coaches have taught us, what our pastors have taught us, what our spouses have taught us, what our kids have taught us, what society has taught us. And honestly, I'm very surprised most of us don't know each other. Most of us do not know ourselves. I did not know myself. And when you take these journeys, these psychedelic journeys, things start happening. And I could go down this rabbit hole for hours and days, and we're not. But there is science and there is magic to this, and both are equally powerful. And it cracked me open. I started dealing with the problems I didn't want to deal with, stuff that I already knew, memories that came back after I sobered up off alcohol. And I started actually dealing with the stuff that we do not want to deal with. My abuse, all the abuse that I suffered as a child, and then how I took that abuse and took it into my adulthood and found people to surround myself with to amplify that abuse and to just, we take what we know in childhood and we take it into adulthood, and that's what we know, that's what we learn, that's what we know, and that's what we do, and that's what I did. This program I was in, there was breakthroughs. It was not unicorns and rainbows. Sometimes I sobbed so hard that my eye mask was full of water after the journey, full of tears. None of this was easy. And on top of that, I couldn't work anymore. Sometimes when the bomb goes off hard enough, whether we want to call that complex PTSD, bipolar, I don't care what label you want to apply to it. You know, the label I subscribe to for myself is complex PTSD. That is my disorder. But when that bomb goes off and it's hard enough, you're not the same afterwards, and working is not the same. Life is not the same. Days I struggled to get out of bed, days I couldn't get anything done other than barely pull my shoes on, take the dogs for a walk. I mean, that was maybe weeks went by, and that's all I could do was take the dogs for a walk, talk to my therapist, do this psychedelic healing. My wife was here with me and going through this and helping me literally, mentally learn to walk again. And it wasn't that I wasn't mentally slower. There wasn't problems with me. I did not want to live in rage. I did not want to live wanting to kill myself on a daily basis. And that caused a lot of work needing to be done to try to actually chip all that away, to chip that off me and get back to the inner child, the happy boy that I was before it all started. And that took a lot of work, and by no means am I still there, but you know what? I'm sitting here now in front of you and looking into this camera telling you I don't want to kill myself anymore. And after, decades of wanting that took some work and some getting to know myself, getting to love myself, letting myself off the hook for all the shitty things that I've done, giving myself some grace, if you want to call it that. None of this healing can start, and I've seen it in my group therapies, and we'll talk about that, but none of this can start without starting to love yourself first. And if you can't love yourself first, welcome to the black hole. Oh, if you don't mind, let's just play just a little bit of music. Music is what helps me feel better. There's certain things when you start to heal and get better. For me, it's things that help keep me in the present, keep me here, and not going back to what happened. Music, my service dogs that always remind me to stay present. Oddly enough, fabric that has texture that I can feel at different times. A manual transmission in my car. Just stuff like this, things that won't let me disassociate, fade out, start thinking about the past, obsessing over the future. Turn the music up just a little bit. I hope it doesn't come through the mic to you guys. I want to hear it too. In all of this healing, the last couple years that I've went through, I think the hardest part of all of it was learning to be nice to myself and be nice to others. I learned to abuse myself, or to take abuse myself, and people I were around, whether family, friends, wherever that was, it was encouraged, you know. Drunken violence. And you know what the real honest truth and the weird truth is? I didn't know I was suffering. I thought there was something wrong with me. Whether I was a drug addict, what all my family threw on me when I was a kid. The bipolar labels I accepted when I was out of control from my stress disorder, you know. I thought something was wrong with me, and I didn't know it was suffering. And I ask you, anybody that's sitting here staring at me and watching this, do you know you're suffering? Or do you think there's something wrong with you? Let's all breathe together for just a little bit. This has been pretty heavy for me today. We've been going for 25 minutes and I can feel it. Let's just take a breath if you don't mind. Apologies, I'm still new to broadcasting. Sometimes it's not quick, perfect, and easy. So anyway, I'm in this psychedelic healing program. And you know what? For those of you who are like, what program are you in? It doesn't matter. There are many out there. Google your way in, find what speaks to you if you're interested in anything like this, and trust your intuition. There were group therapy sessions tied with my program, and we're not going to go all the way back, but from my childhood, when they were telling me I was a drug addict, I was forced into AA programs and NA, MA, all the different A's. And what always struck me was the group healing. Even when I was a younger kid, the group healing was, it is different. I'm sorry if you can hear my poodle Ray is snoring real loud. I hope you can't hear it. Group healing was where we went, and there weren't therapists telling us what to do. There weren't people doling out. There weren't the gurus, the coaches. Nobody. It was us sitting in a group, and we all understood each other. And that's was powerful. I didn't understand the power of the healing because I was kind of a young kid and I was forced into something I didn't want to be a part, but I always took time to notice how these people sharing with each other was powerful. That stayed with me, as I moved through my life. Different drug rehabs, I'd go back into the group healings. And in this psychedelic healing, I saw that they had groups where you could go and sit, and I looked and they had PTSD group, and I went right in. And that's where the real healing began. For me and my program, the psychedelics were a catalyst. They opened doors, they revealed, they showed me things. They were the magic mirror that told the truth. And the groups, though, the groups were where I talked, and I met other people that had complex PTSD and PTSD. And what I saw is what I've talked about already. I started seeing all the similarities and not the differences. Sure, we all show up on video chat and we all instantly judge each other. Let's be honest. Everybody shows up on chat, that's what we do. But as I listened to everybody talk, as I listened, the similarities were, it's always the same thing with healing. There was a central path that we all went down, no matter who we were, no matter where we came from. And that's what we saw. And I went deeper in these groups. I started attending grief groups. PTSD and grief go hand in hand. Those that know. And I started attending men's groups. I started attending all the groups that I could, group meditations. And just the power of group healing brought me the last couple years. In those groups, I saw all my family members, the people who had hurt me, the people who I had hurt. I shared time with everybody, and in sharing time with everybody in these groups, I learned that we carry a lot of shame. Our culture, we don't let things go. We shame people. And that shame sticks with us. And I could go into it, all the shaming words that are used, drug addict, alcoholic, what else? Why are you so angry, man? All the different shame things that come when nobody ever asks, what happened? What happened, man? What happened to you? Nobody asks that. The strength in sharing was incredible. The relief of being witnessed in that group and held by other people. Powerful, powerful, powerful medicine. And it saved my life. I didn't start this program and flick a switch and the suicidality went away. It did not. As a matter of fact, this last summer, I had a huge bout of insomnia, and it broke me, and the suicidality came back. So we need the ability to be who we are and to be held for who we are and not be shamed. And I did my fair share of shaming. This person that sits in front of you talking on the camera and is going through this story is not the same person that I was 3 years ago. That person 3 years ago was an anger monster and didn't treat the ones he loved well. And what kind of my how I'm going to start working my way to the end of this sharing circle, this space that I'm creating, that you are joining in with me, and we soon will be creating together. Somewhere along the way, as a share everyone, and I don't want to move. Let me check with my producers real quick. I apologize. Anyway, I'm going to go back and hopefully my studio, there's a good chance to talk. I'm broadcasting off of Starlink at 9,400 feet on the top of a mountain where my community all is off-grid cabins. So this is going to happen. It's real unfortunate, and I don't like it either, but there's going to be some little lags, and I very much apologize for that. Now that we're back, I'm going to go back and start over where we were kind of starting to move down. I was wrapping up the end of this broadcast. As I grew up as a kid, I'm a child of the 80s. It was different. The older people were tougher on us. The Gen X culture, the boomers, they were tough, man. The way they shamed us, the way they beat us into work, the way we weren't allowed to ever say no. And I've thought about that as we've gotten into our times now. We're in crazy times, but we're also in softer times. And we have a chance now. Somewhere along the way, our culture got lost, isolated. Men have a hard time connecting. Sometimes we don't, many family members, sometimes we don't ever even say what our true feelings are, nor do we know what our true feelings are. And then like these devices, we isolate behind them. And then what we kind of watch, or what we fill our heads with, or what I'll spend my time rooting around on, it's kind of bullshit. We live a life now of pretending, of performing, of saying okay when we want to say no, of saying no when we really want to say yes. And the reason that I think is because we are all hurting real bad. And we don't know how to say it anymore. And in those groups that I was in, I started learning how to say it. I started learning how to be vulnerable, to talk about what happened to me. When I started sharing and letting other people share, and I started connecting, and I started healing, and I started holding space for other people, and they held space for me. And the facilitators and the coaches in these spaces that I met, they changed my life, and they helped me heal. And I've been in therapy my entire life. And I never had healing like I had in this program with the people that I was in these groups with, and that's where it happened. And that's why I'm here now. That is absolutely why I'm starting this space now. This is not a show, like I keep saying. Even at times I'll slip and call it a show, and it is not a show. It is a space for us to get together. And I know it's starting slow, There's a slow snowball, but every day I'm going to show up all through the Christmas season and be here for people if there's anybody that needs help. And if I end up sitting here and I guess blowing hot air, talking for an hour every day, that's my commitment. My commitment is to show up for 1 hour every day for me and for you. This space is here to bring us back together. This is a space to unmask. It's a place to breathe. It's a place to admit something that you have never wanted to admit. You can admit it here. You can say it here. There's no politics, and there's no religion. Just humanity, just us, and just presence for all that we have going on. This is a crazy-ass world now. It is. There's lots of stress. It's coming from all different directions. And like I said yesterday, when the holidays come on, holidays are just an amplifier for whatever you got inside of you. And whatever that's going to be, the holidays are going to work it hard. Mind if I play a little music? Let's see what I have in my little box. The holidays are hard for a lot of people. And I'm going to say they're hard for most of us. And I think a big lot of us kind of push through the holidays and don't talk about it. We run around and buy gifts for people we really don't want to. We go to a whole bunch of different parties we probably don't want to go to, unless, free booze, I guess. Grief, loneliness, memories, pressure. This space is being created so we don't have to carry that through the holidays. If you can show up here and unload, talk in the chats. I will have chat open once we get going. There'll be ways for us to communicate where you're just not listening to me. I'll bring people live that want to talk. I'm going to bring on facilitators and coaches. I'm going to bring on people that talk about what we're all going through a little bit, have some honest conversations. And, another thing, as I wrap up, I watch Twitch and I'm watching YouTube and I'm kind of going through that, and there's not very many calm places anymore. Everything is real animated, fast, loud. This is a chance for this to be soft and calm and a place for us to slow down. That's why I keep bringing up the breathing, which is, if you don't mind, as we wrap this up and say goodbye and say until tomorrow, let's do some breathing real quick again. Let's just breathe. Holidays are stressful. You're going fast. Slow down and breathe with me for a little bit. Thank you for showing up with me today. Thank you for listening to my story. I'll be here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And we'll keep doing this, every day through the holidays, one breath at a time. appreciate you. I'm glad to be here and have this space with you. And I'll see you tomorrow.